Hi, Curtis, Dan Hayter. Yes, Curtis. Hello? Hello? I don't think so. Curtis? How's the smoke up there in North Dakota? Definitely did not have me.
Is he on?
No, he's no longer on.
He tends to, sometimes, like, if I talk to him, he'll ring back my phone, and then he won't be there. It happens all the time. I don't know if he's pocket dialing.
I'll try one redial. Come on.
You made record.
Not available at this time. At 6 p.m. We'll open the meeting with pledge of allegiance. Stand and take the flag. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, 6 p.m. we open the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. Everybody had an opportunity to look at the agenda. I will tell you that letter C under item 10 is not prepared for tonight, so that will not be discussed. Letter F under item 10 is not prepared yet, so that will not be discussed as well. Hi, Curtis.
Hey, Dan, I'm here for the meeting, so.
Okay.
I got crossed up here, the calling me when somebody told me to call your end, so.
Okay, well, that's fine. Hopefully my battery will sustain throughout the call, or throughout the meeting anyway.
Yeah, see, we're mountain time here, 6 o'clock there now, isn't it?
Correct?
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay,
we-
I'll let you go then.
We've-
I'll be listening.
All right, we've already started the meeting. We opened the meeting and we had the Pledge of Allegiance. We're looking at the agenda. And I don't know if you've had an opportunity to look at any of that information, Curtis, but everybody else has had a chance to look at it in front of them. And item 10, letter C, and item 10, letter F are not going to be covered tonight during the meeting because they're not prepared yet.
Okay,
Okay,
sounds good.
so with those changes, I would need a motion to accept the agenda.
I'll make a motion to accept the agenda as published, except the change omitting 10C and 10F.
Who was that? Cindy?
I'll second it.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the agenda without items 10C and 10F. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I'm sorry, Curtis, I should pause just for a moment with that. Opposed? 6 voted aye. Okay, then we will move on to approving the minutes of the July 19th and July 26th meetings.
I'll motion to approve the minutes of July 19 and July 26, 2021 meetings.
I'll second that.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve the meetings of the July 19th and the July 26th meetings. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 6, aye. And we will move on to item number 5, public input.
I will do one thing. I had a Freedom of Information request. I will hand that off. This is the third time I brought it forward concerning some information. I have a copy. All you have to do is just write yes, no, and that. So I will leave that with the finance officer. That's all I have.
I have one thing in regards to the 72-hour parking ordinance you guys are attempting to change. First, it's a complaint against you, Mayor, and the City Finance Office. I brought my camper home in March. It never violated the 72-hour rule, and you guys were up in my business constantly over that camper sitting on the street. I brought it home Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. and by Thursday at 7 o'clock there'd already been a complaint by City Hall about my camper sitting on the street. 25 hours into a 72-hour rule, and I got City Hall on me about it. When, for the last 2 months, these campers have been sitting on Broad Street at 4th and Broad, at 5th and Broad, and 4th and Broad, and nobody said a word about it. And Mayor, you were told about it on June 14th about those campers, and you didn't do anything about them. But every time mine comes home, I seem to have Miss Patty up in my business worrying about everything Bucky does, okay? I got a real problem with the selective enforcement that you guys have here, this friendships. Maybe Patty could tell us who belongs to the camper at 4th and Broad over here. Who owns that?
Well, first of all, I have made no complaint.
Who owns the
I have
camper?
made no complaint about your trailer.
The last name on that camper is Jurgens. So I just wonder why that probably gets to sit for 2 months. And I believe there's other council members that are aware that that's been sitting there for months. Same over here. Go ahead, change your ordinance, but it isn't a violation until it's sit after 72 hours, okay? Then I move it 2 feet. It's now 72 hours again. That's the way the rules work. So everybody else can have theirs plugged in, camping in them over here, but that's okay. I can't. My two minutes.
Is there any other public input?
Yeah, I'd like to bring something up. I've thought long and hard about this liquor license business down at the grocery store. And, I get most of my gas down there, most of my groceries. It's a nice little grocery store, but I'm also concerned about the bar downtown. I mean, I know you guys take an income off of that. I'm a little concerned about if you take that part of the business away from her. And I know there's some people that probably don't like walking into a bar to get their liquor. But you guys take income off that bar, and at what point is it gonna get, if you take that income away, that we have another place closed down here, you have somebody that just can't survive down there. And I don't know where you are as far as hiring somebody for chief of police, but I'm still standing by this man, so hopefully it goes through. If it's brought up later, I'd appreciate it. That's my 2 cents worth.
Right. Is there any other public input tonight?
Eric Mockmuller, General Manager for the Total Stop Food Stores, under consideration for the liquor license that we've applied for. The city also would gain an income off of our additional sales for the tax that you guys have set for the 10% tax on our liquor, plus the sales tax revenue that we would gain for that. So I don't think all is lost as far as revenue for the city. We've just had quite a few of our customers ask why we don't carry it. Found out there's one available, apply for it, hoping that we can please our customers and satisfy the needs for everybody that comes in. So thank you for your consideration.
If I can bring that
Go ahead.
one up again. Like I said, I think we've got a great little grocery store down here, no problem with that, and I have nothing against the people that run it. I consider a lot of them people my friends, but I don't want to see another business close down on Main Street or nothing down there. So I don't think the grocery store is probably going to pull up in the town if they don't get a liquor license. I understand where they're coming from too. Everybody's out to try to make an extra buck. So anyway.
Is there any other public input? Hearing none, we're going to move on to number 6. We still have a few minutes yet, about 6. And this DE, it's actually now DA. Used to be the Department of Energy and Natural Resources. Now it's the Department of Agriculture and Natural Resources. They contacted us with 3 different commendations, and they're all basically covering the same thing. This one is for the city overall. We also received a special letter, and I don't want to dirty these or anything. One is written to Dale Pearson, and of course he also has a certificate of achievement. One is written to Lonnie Johnson, and he also has a certificate of achievement. We as a city also received a certificate of achievement saying, congratulations to you from DANR. The City of Alcester Public Water System has met the requirements of the Safe Drinking Water Act and the State of South Dakota's regulations for supplying safe drinking water to the public. For your efforts and concern for safe drinking water, we would like to present this achievement award to you. This program was initiated by the Drinking Water Program to reward those systems and their operations specialists, Dale and Lonnie, that have demonstrated excellence in water system management and maintenance. You'll also find enclosed a draft press release, which we've got here, that we'll probably be putting in the paper concerning the award that the system, our water system, has received. I guess that's the gist of the letter. The rest of it is thank you for your interest in maintaining safe drinking water for your consumers. And of course, if we can be of assistance, contact us. So, thought that was worth mentioning. Nice achievement awards for those 2 gentlemen that they do work hard to make sure that the water is clean and clear and potable. And all of us work hard to pay the taxes to keep it that way too. So we do have the hearing scheduled. I guess actually we do have a few minutes still. Let's go on to item number 7. As far as the September meeting, obviously the 5th of September is Labor Day. So the question then becomes, when would we have our first September council meeting? And does anybody have any preferences? 6th, 7th, 8th?
The 6th is Labor Day.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Motion to reschedule the 6th.
right.
Yeah.
Mhm. I don't.
7th, 8th?
7th is fine.
Pick a day, decide, and We can,
7th?
7th is fine.
we got a couple
Otherwise,
minutes.
otherwise if we go the next week, then we have back-to-back.
I don't like that. I'd
No.
really rather have them spread out a little
I
bit.
would too.
Yeah.
So
7th is fine.
I would need a motion to change that date.
I'll make a motion to reschedule September 6th, 2021 City Council meeting to September 7th, 2021 at 6 PM in the old school center at 500 Dakota Street due to the Labor Day holiday.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded to reschedule the September 6th council meeting to September 7th at the same time and the same place due to the Labor Day holiday. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Got it. Well, in another 30 seconds, it'll be 6:15 and we can officially do this, but we don't want to start early, so.
You want to announce the vote? Or did you-
We have not,
No, for the motion. You just voted on. Did you announce it?
oh, I'm sorry, didn't I? Yeah, motion did pass. So the new meeting will be scheduled September 7th at 6 PM in the same place at the same time.
Thank you.
And it is 6:15, so we will begin, excuse me, the public hearing regarding the application for sale of alcoholic beverages. We've heard from some members of the public. I don't know if any of the rest of you, whether it's Curtis on the telephone or any of you sitting here, have any of your constituents talked to you at all about this? Had given you any input?
The ones I talked to were against it.
They, well, I'm sorry.
The ones I talked to were against it.
And the ones I talked to were against it.
Did you hear that, Curtis?
Yeah.
Okay? If there's no further discussion, we would need a motion to either grant, well, we would need a motion to grant the Total Stop Food Store package off-sale liquor license.
She wants to talk.
Yes,
Oh.
Can we do
yes,
public input?
yeah,
You are, yep.
yeah.
So I work at the Alcester bar, and I worked there for about 8 or 9 years. And so just from my experience, I know that bar business has dropped off quite a bit over the years. And my opinion is that off-sale is a portion of the income that the bar, which is a local resident, owns. And with the new clubhouse opening, we don't know how that's gonna affect the bar business. So, I mean, just as an employee, my opinion is that taking something else and splitting it or giving some of that business to another business in town is probably gonna negatively affect the bar. So, you know, the bar rents the business from the city of Alcester, so, and I think Teresa has done a great job of running the business, and that's my concern, is that it will negatively affect it, and if, I don't know the finances specifically for the bar, but if those keep dropping with things, you know, other businesses in town and stuff, and losing off sale or losing a portion of off sale, that'd be a negative effect on a business that's already established in town. So, it's just my opinion as an employee of the bar.
Can we get your name?
Kama Johnson.
Okay, all right, thank you.
And I do know this has come before council before, that when it did, I was actually on city council and argued against it as an employee of the bar, being on the bar board and a city council member, so.
I did have a question for Teresa. There used to be a drive-up window,
No, not at this building.
not at this one.
It's
So
all
is it
with the one they tore down for the bank drive-through.
Okay, that's what I
No,
wondered.
Lefty.
Yeah,
That's what I wondered, if there was.
that's where it was.
Okay,
But we have a back door, we have a side door.
so they could
And there's a
go,
lot of people that do come in the back door and don't have a problem with it.
yeah, I just was asking for
Right.
other people
But you
that
know-
say they don't want to come in there.
Well,
I
and
wondered why.
if you could find a place to put a drive-through in, and that'd be wonderful.
That would be wonderful, wouldn't it?
But I don't know where you'd do
Yeah,
it.
And a large portion of our off-sale customers do come in and either have a drink and get a bottle, or don't even have a drink and just walk in to get one. So, I mean, there are a lot of people who do that, so it would be an impact.
I did talk to someone in Beersford, and you can buy a limited amount, very limited, at the grocery store over there. Not all the different kinds, just like
Oh, sure.
2 or 3 kinds, and that's it. 2 or 3 different bottles of something. It's not anything.
Is that a different kind of a license then?
I don't know. I didn't,
No, I think it's just
The
an
license
off-sale
would-
license.
The
I just
license
don't-
would be specified.
they just don't carry all of it.
Yeah, they just don't have a large inventory.
They have the same license,
I think
but
so.
Uh-huh.
they've chosen not to stock.
The liquor store in Beersford is Muni,
Yes.
Mhm.
but
Yes,
the one at the grocery store, I assume, is sold by the
Right.
grocery
Mhm.
store. I mean,
yeah,
it's just business for the grocery store.
yeah.
So at the present, the grocery store can sell beer and wine, am I correct? Correct there.
We can also, that Kim Wilms, we also can sell wine-based, I sell wine-based tequila, wine-based rum, wine-based vodka, and wine-based already-made cocktails.
So as long as it's wine-based.
Yes.
Can I speak? So, my name is Sherry Oswald, Operations Director at Police Op. I think it's important for everyone to understand that we aren't trying to take away business,
No.
but with the understanding that we are trying to create a one-stop shop where we're not, people may be leaving town to get their items, and it might be the one thing that would still continue to generate revenue in your community. If they're not going into a bar to buy liquor, they might be taking their business to the Walmarts or the Hy-Vees or everywhere else. I know that we've been busting our butt on trying to we do deliveries, we do curbside pickup. Kim's buying massive amounts of things for the fair and for the school and the concession stands, and we're all taking pride in your community and just trying to be the best that we can be. And that if it drives more sales in our store, if they pick up one bottle here or there, I can't say what an impact it would do on your bar, but you have to understand if it's the one thing that keeps them in town, you are still receiving an income on that whole sale towards your community. I also am just curious if we've had 2 liquor licenses in this city before. I'm not certain as to who held this preceding license, but if you were able to handle 2 at that time, what is the difference? You know, I would ask for you to consider that when you're making your vote.
When the Hillbillies was running, did they actually have an off-sale portion too?
No.
I
No.
don't think so.
So it was just on sale?
Yes.
The only reason it's always been just the bar downtown is because they go by per capita of people.
Sure.
Has our town grown triple in size? No. And that's why you can't compare us to other towns, because we don't have the people here like they do in other towns. So that's all I'm gonna say about it.
We are in some small communities that have, Chancellor, for instance, that has less than 200 people. We carry an off sale at our C-store, and the bar also carries an off sale. Granted, it's not, the city doesn't own the bar, but we both seem to survive in a community of 200 with 2 licenses out there. And I do know that the city administrator there seen a huge uptick in their tax revenue with that license, because he has made that very clear. So, just food for thought.
So you're saying that even though they've had this bar all this time and grocery store, if you will, all this time. Once the grocery store did get the off-sale license, they saw an
It went up,
uptick
yeah.
in revenue.
But do you know if the bar saw a Lawson revenue for upsale?
I don't know exactly the share of that, but the revenue that they seen come in from that, they said went up. So as a whole, it went up. I don't know the percentage, you know, who had what, obviously, but.
I don't know the legalities of it, but for instance, if Teresa, or let's say anybody's running a bar downtown, can't somebody call up and say, hey, run me out a bottle and I'll pay you when you get out there? I don't know if that's legal or not.
I do it quite often.
Okay.
I don't
Can
know
I
why
ask
wouldn't.
Teresa a question?
I'll
What
talk to him about
percentage, do you know about what percentage is off sale for you?
A lot.
Okay, that's like more than 50,
No, probably 45.
which is quite
And it has
large.
been very, you know, and now it's been slow because the COVID
Yeah.
stuff, plus the weather's nice and everybody sits at home outside,
Mhm.
you know, so it's tough.
Okay,
And if that's gone, then I don't know if I'll be open.
yeah, I wondered what your,
I've got a thing to say about that. My name's Joe Ponstein. I was listening to, I mean, not comparing Alcester with another meeting, but they were talking about their utilities getting sold and going to a higher, you know, person. And one of the people that addressed the city said, just remember, you only have one city building, you know, to the city-owned bar. You only have one. Once you lose that, you lose it all. So.
Well, and I think that's the concern, like, that I've talked to customers who come into the bar, and one of the concerns is that the bar income has decreased recently. I mean, with COVID, with just people aren't going to the bar as much. You know, are you willing to risk taking more income away from the bar and potentially losing the person who has a long history in this community of running the bar? Will we even have a community bar anymore? I know the clubhouse is gonna be opening up and that'll be a bar and a restaurant, but that's also gonna be a big hit probably for the Alcester bar. Is it even gonna survive, and is that a concern, or?
I have a question. Is the markup on the liquor sales that, because the city sells to these individuals, is the markup going to be the same for the community center and Total Stop
Yep.
and the Alcester Bar?
Yep, it's all the same, 5% malt, 10% liquor.
Licenses are the same price too.
Anything else? I'm not gonna just go right into a vote here. I want everybody to think before we officially shut down any input.
Did you guys have anything to
Curtis,
share?
have you got any input at all, or?
Did you want to share anything?
I guess, I think we're kind of shooting ourselves in the foot if we don't support our own city store. That was my concern.
When you're referring to Total Stop as city store?
No, I mean, our Alcester liquor store, that the city owns.
I understand now. Okay.
Yeah, that's my thoughts.
Anything else? Well, there's only one line there, and it says motion to grant the Total Stop food store package off-sale liquor license.
You did have 2 more people come in, yesterday, in the morning.
Yes, I saw that. I don't know if you ladies have anything that you'd like to say, or?
Kathy and Sherry.
By the way, thank you for coming.
Yes.
I have to tell you, this is encouraging. I don't think I've been to a public hearing in this city with this many of the public
I agree.
in the hearing.
Well, a lot of people didn't even know about it.
I'm proud. Well, we did our best to
It
do
was
that
on
too,
the
and I don't know
sign.
what else we can
It's
do,
on the
but
sign.
I know.
that's a discussion for another time and day, but,
But yeah.
I mean, you post signs and
Mhm.
put things in the
It's in the
paper.
paper.
I guess we could skywrite.
It's on the website.
So, that being said, if we do not have any other input, we would need a motion to grant the Total Stop food store package off-sale liquor license.
I got one thing just to add, just remember,
Hang on just one second. Kurt, if you can hang on just a moment, go ahead, I'm sorry.
just remember before you guys vote, this could potentially close down the only bar the city has. So, just food for thought, that's all.
Sure. Okay, Curtis, what were you gonna say?
If there is no motion, they will, I will lack a motion then.
That is correct. If there is no motion, I mean, I'll give it, I mean, I'm not gonna sit here for 5 minutes, but I'll give it a few moments, and if there is no motion, we're going to move on to number 9. It'll be fun to talk about medical cannabis.
I like the skywriting idea.
Yeah, but we gotta do something different. I don't know what we gotta do. We either need to put our own sign up that is lit up that says, you know, public hearing, public hearing, public hearing, or we need to start, I don't know, handing out flyers.
Maybe we need to be a little bit more wordy when we have a sign up on the highway.
Well, that's true too. Now, I don't know, I think we did talk to them about putting it on there. Did they do that?
It was on there.
It
You
was on
did see
there,
it?
yeah.
Yes, it's
I
on
did
there.
not see it, but
Yes,
you know,
it's on there.
when you're driving, I don't really read the sign like that too much.
I saw it.
You're referring to the sign at Southeast?
That is correct.
Okay.
But again, we are digressing, so. If I don't hear a motion in just one moment, we're going to move on. Item 8B dies for lack of a motion. And we will move on to medical cannabis. We have gotten a large amount of information regarding medical cannabis. A large amount. And I don't know if you guys had an opportunity to read all this, but this is going to be a quite an undertaking. Some of the wording in some of these documents that were given to us were offered by, actually, this packet was provided to us by, I think it was South Dakota Municipal League, right? Yeah, Yvonne Taylor, president of South Dakota Municipal League. And they did an awful lot of work for us, putting together, not necessarily fill in the blank, but pretty much boilerplate verbiage. Obviously, tonight, we're not going to act on any of this, but you can see by the sheer volume of text in front of you regarding medical cannabis. This is not just do we want it, yes, no. One section that I thought was extremely important to note is if we don't do something before the September, I can't remember what date, that the state's guidelines all go into effect, we will not be allowed to regulate it at all. We will not be allowed to count, or excuse me, set the number of licenses that would be available, dispensaries that would be available within the city of Alcester. I mean, hours of operation, all this different stuff would not be under our control at all, or even, we wouldn't even have any input on it. It would just be the way it is. That's kind of scary to me. I believe that's one of the reasons why when we went to talk to the people down at the county, Curtis, they mentioned they specifically set one license already. Even though the state hadn't done anything, they at least wanted to get that in writing. And I think that was because they were already thinking about, if we don't get this done now, we may not, you know, we may miss that window of opportunity to do so. So, you can see there's a couple of different ordinances there. One is a restrictive zoning ordinance, and then of course the other one would be the licensing ordinance.
So the one in green is the zoning.
Okay.
Everybody get that?
The one in-
I'm actually gonna write that.
This one's, okay, this one,
So the one with the green highlight is the zoning.
zoning.
Yep. The other one would be called a licensing ordinance.
I didn't print it out, but there was, I thought, a timeline set out on that.
There is.
There
is. Did you want that? I didn't
Well-
print that either, but,
We just need to be mindful of those deadlines.
yeah, this, so if we draft the verbiage tonight, then we can do our first reading at the next meeting, and our second reading in the first meeting in September, and that will keep us on their timeline.
So you said first reading or second reading? Second reading, right?
Second reading in September,
First reading would be
second
August.
reading in August.
Yeah, August. 16th, I guess, huh?
Yeah. It'd be, yeah, August 31st, you need to have your first reading on or before August 31st.
No,
Yeah, joint public hearing of planning commission and city council town board, first reading.
that's on this, we do our first reading on the 16th.
Yeah, that would be before the
On or
31st.
before 31st.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I didn't, yeah, sorry. On or before.
But didn't we already have a public hearing on this information? Or, I mean, it wasn't about this particular information, but it did cover
I think you
medical.
have to have a public hearing anytime you are amending zoning.
Okay, understood.
That's the reason for the public hearing.
So we just need to fill in the blanks and
Well, with legal counsel, is there some,
We were in drafting some of this stuff with you, so, yeah, it can be tailored to the city, and I can have it done for you by the end of this week, and then kosher for review by all of you. I would suggest adopting both of them primarily as written. Kind of the timeline for where we're at now, that first emergency ordinance that we passed said we're not doing anything until the state develops its criteria. The state's now developed its criteria. As the mayor pointed out, we want to adopt these things so that we can set the number of dispensaries that we feel is appropriate for town. We can't say none, but one is at least bad option maybe for Alcester, and then also limit it so that you, because currently it's set up that you can't have testing, manufacturing, all that stuff in the same location as a dispensary. So to keep some of those other activities associated with cannabis out of municipalities' limits would be something we would do by the licensing statutes or zoning.
so if we would say we can have one dispensary and have it located not less than 5,000 feet from the school.
You end up with problems.
The town isn't big enough.
Right, you end up getting caught trying to circumvent the law,
Okay.
but I'll try anything, Dave. You know,
And
just like
the real issue with that is if this, I'm just gonna play devil's advocate, let's say out there next to the Lee Drive fourplex is 5,001 feet from the school, that's where it's gonna be, because it's legal. So do you want it in a residential area, or do you want it right next to the police department? I'm just using that as an example, of course. So,
Tire shop.
yeah, at the tire shop, it's a great place.
Well, it's not being used for much
Well,
anything else right now.
the tax revenue might be good, I don't know.
They recommend a
I see
$5,000
that.
license fee.
I see that,
would
and,
help out.
and that $5,000 is, I mean, even if they don't get the license, only 2,500 of it goes back, so it's a $2,500 sacrifice to apply for a license. I mean, they're making it difficult so that anybody that really wants to do this is going to really want to do this and really feel the need to do this, so.
Is that legal in Iowa?
I don't know, I think medical marijuana is. I
They
think,
passed
think
it
so.
now. I thought they passed it.
I think,
Yeah,
I think it
it
is.
is. I just wondered, because we're
Quite a
close to
while.
Iowa, so.
I didn't think that they did.
Because my
I
question
thought
is,
they did for medical.
how much interest do you think anyone is really gonna have here
Never know.
in putting one of these up? I mean, the stuff's already here.
There's interest.
Yeah,
There is
well,
interest. It
Okay.
happened right after the election, right
Really?
after the vote.
Okay. I mean, the stuff's already here. People that don't wanna get legal are gonna get it illegally.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the way it's gonna be, but
May I have permission to ask a question?
yes.
I'm going to assume, Sam, because you are a lobbyist for the South Dakota Municipal League, when they drafted this, and I have not read the state part of it, that the number of licenses would be predicated upon the population of the cities to some extent?
That's a good question. They have talked about that, and so the rules that the state is working under were drafted by health, and they're administrative rules. They were drafted by two agencies, and I can't remember which two they were. But there was discussion, and is discussion, just generally about what's the model for recreational, if and when that comes. And there has been discussion on similar to your liquor and beverage licenses, the cap. But as I read the statutes, the rules, and this stuff, there is no limit that is set in statute as to how many dispensaries you can have based on population.
So we could conceivably vote 25 dispensaries?
Yeah, well, we could have one
I mean,
on every
I'm
corner.
just saying, conceivably, we could do that. I would think the state would probably have a heart attack and come after us, but.
Yeah, I mean, you could authorize 25, and I bet you 5 of them would be left standing at the end of the year, and who knows after that.
Okay, thank you.
But yeah, that was considered. I don't believe that's how the current framework sits now.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we have these two, Sam, you're gonna flesh them out and combine them with the thing in the red here, and have that ready for the next week.
Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you.
At which time everybody will have the opportunity to have read them, and then we will have the first reading of those to work toward getting completely adopted by first meeting in September. The one we just set for September.
September 7th.
And I'm assuming in zoning, we have two options. We would have highway commercial, but I also think we have our, Main Street.
Yeah, yep, and I think you all know this, but exactly to Pat's point, zoning is where do we as a community feel they best sit in our town? Like you said, Dave, not close to school, then licensing. What do you need to do in addition to meet state requirements? What, if any, local requirements do we have to make sure we're giving this to a person who's gonna operate the business in a manner that we can live with if they choose to come to do business here? So kind of a two-part deal. We have separate, I mean, the zoning ordinances are ordinances themselves, but it's a separate little entity within the code, so that's why we have the two. Who gets it and where's the right place to put it?
All right, well, we will move on to item number 10, legal updates, and we'll start with 10A, 307 Iowa Street property, nuisance property.
So I've been in touch with that property owner's attorney, who, he and I spoke last week. He was reaching out to the property owner to see what the next step or plan was. My understanding from both Pat and the attorney is that the roof has been put on that house. So I have not heard back from the property owner's attorney yet, but hopefully this week, maybe. With respect to item 10B, ordinance to vacate the alley, had a chance to look at what we were trying to do there. As I read statute, Title 9, Chapter 45, in order to vacate an alley or any roadway in the city, basically the same thing has to happen. It either has to have been not used for 25 years, property owners adjacent have to ask for it to be abandoned, or all the property owners adjacent to any right-of-way or roadway can petition to have a street or alley abandoned. If that happens, you do a line down the middle, and the property, the stuff on guy A's side and stuff on guy B's side splits to those property owners. Generally, you want to make sure you keep an easement, with those property owners. We have this particular alley we're talking about that I understand abuts Mr. Constance's property and some other folks. We do have sewer line down that, so there would need to be a petition from city residents that are adjacent to it if they want to abandon it. We can't just pass an ordinance to vacate the alley. Item C, just so you know, I think the ordinance can be amended to change it so we clarify a little bit that we've got one garbage collector. I need to review our contract with Lauren Fisher to determine whether or not he feels that it covers roll-on, roll-off dumpsters. I think it could go either way when you interpret the ordinance, but we need to figure out a way to ensure we're not running afoul of our sole source contract with him, and also that we're being fair to people who want to use other services if in fact our ordinance allows that. D, update to Title 5, Pat, we have one of those here. Ordinance 2021-13. The only change to that is the addition of 5.0108, which establishes a $25 penalty for any of the municipal offenses that are violated. So disorderly conduct, essentially, if I'm wandering out in the street drunk and Austin arrests me and I'm making a lot of noise at 2 in the morning, I can be fined $25 on a city ticket for that. So if that, now would be the time for a motion to approve the first reading if anybody's interested.
So, can I talk about the alley?
Yeah.
So what is our next step? We need to get everybody down that to sign something? What do we need to get them to sign?
So forgive me for being blunt, but we don't need to do anything.
I was just gonna say.
So-
Yes, if the property
Okay.
owners want to have that alley abandoned, they look at Title 945, they can hire a lawyer, they can do it themselves.
Okay.
A petition would be an easy thing to write up,
And
but you
get
just,
all the property owners along there to sign this?
they petition the city, then you have a hearing, and then the city decides if they want to abandon it.
Okay.
I've got a question.
Sure.
Why wasn't this said to me 2 months ago? I could care less about the alley. I just wanted the
Be able to-
15-foot easement, that's all,
Sure.
to utilize my driveway.
Mhm.
Sure.
And I mentioned, if that can't happen, I can turn my building, but I want alley access.
Sure. Well, like I said to you on the phone, there's two ways you can do it. You can petition to have this abandoned. And if
Okay.
the other property owners want to do that, it can be abandoned.
Well, the one guy thinks he owns it anyway.
Hey, man, these are the things, these are the adventures in a small town. If it's abandoned, the only thing that I would insist the city maintain is whatever easements we have for city or power or
Yeah, we discussed
fiber or
that,
whatever.
that there's a utility easement,
Easement,
there's
yeah.
one in every town, state,
Right.
wherever.
The other option is, as I explained, our current variance ordinance is a little on the strict side, I think, is what some folks would feel here in town. You're welcome to apply for a variance tomorrow morning at 8,
Yeah, you
and then
told
it'll
me
go
that.
through the process of whether or not it's granted because of what's called an unnecessary hardship. In our current ordinance, there's a checklist of stuff you gotta meet to get that unnecessary hardship.
Yeah,
The city has asked me to draft a less restrictive ordinance that makes it a little easier for property owners to meet that unnecessary hardship definition. That's been provided to the city today, so when it could be passed by early September, basically on the same timeline that you heard for the marijuana stuff.
yeah. Well, now, here's my next question. I came here 2 months ago and discussed this. It's 2 months later. I could have been already, had this all in order and
Sure,
done already.
yeah,
I have $16,000 worth of material sitting on the ground because I'm waiting. And I'm trying to follow the rules. I can build my shed the
Sure.
way I can now. I can set back 25 feet, but I want alley access then, which I should not be denied by any means, but I'm trying to, it is an unused alley. It has been. There's a house at the end of it. Yes, sewer goes through it, whatever. The utility easement, I know all about that. I deal with it on a daily basis. I just wish somebody would have told me 2 months ago that I had to do this.
sure. Well, I
I
tell you
mean,
what, I'll go ahead and take responsibility for any miscommunication, just so we can pin that on me. But as far as our options going forward, you can apply for a variance, which you could have done 2 months ago, and maybe that wasn't communicated to you, and I wasn't here when we talked about the abandoning the alley, so my fault if that got miscommunicated. But you can petition to abandon the alley, or you can apply for the variance. I'm not your attorney, I'm not providing you legal advice. If they pass this new ordinance, so I think it's gonna be a lot easier
yeah,
to
I'll
get a
just,
variance.
I'll just apply for the variance. I really don't give two
Sure.
craps about that alley.
Okay?
But if he would have applied for the variance, because he did ask, and I did tell him, the way our current ordinances are written, it won't fly. The council can't pass it. So that's why.
Yeah. Okay,
It's
I
being-
understand now. I know you had said something about 50 foot this way, 50 foot that way.
Yeah, 30.
I do remember that, yeah,
And you want to be able to utilize your existing apron,
yes. So I didn't have to make a new driveway.
correct? So,
So, can I get one of them tonight? Because I'm like,
it won't pass.
no, to fill out
Oh, you,
the variance.
And then you would just wait until we change the wording? Because that,
Yeah, well,
What they're
That's
saying
a
is
month
it won't
from
pass
now.
It'll be
But they're
another
gonna
month.
change it
Another
and make
month?
it easier.
Yeah.
Oh,
So you have to-
Okay.
So let me ask you a question. You said I can turn my garage. I'm trying to figure out what the orientation is here. I'm thinking that the doors of the garage where you're gonna drive in are actually on the north end of the building.
East.
Wrong? East, okay.
I can literally flip it to face towards the west, and you come in from the alley.
Right?
But then you'd need the whole alley, right?
Well,
You would need the entire alley
Well,
access.
just where my property
You only get half of
goes.
it, don't you? You have to
Okay, you're-
split that.
you would
You'd
have
have to, yeah, you'd have to basically cut the curb and gutter out that somebody put in, I don't know how many years ago, and then gravel it, all
And
that.
you'd just make it so you'd come in from the north,
Yeah.
in, and then back, you'd
Yeah.
head east right into the doors.
Yeah.
And you could do that now?
I could,
The
I could
the
set back, I
dimensions?
think, what is it, 25 foot from the property line?
yes, and because he's on a corner lot,
Yeah, that's where the
he's
next
got
discussion came.
2 front
Oh, that's right.
yards.
Gosh.
But
Just
why
doing
do you
damage.
call that 2 fronts, but the actual physical address is 310 Union?
But without a structure on there,
That's what I'm trying to get for.
I know. Without a structure on there, and it's on a corner lot, you have 2 front, you have the potential to have 2 front yards. One could be east, one could
True,
be.
but I designed it to face east or west. That's the way the building is designed. Because I thought last time we had talked, if I faced the doors to the north, I had to set back 35 feet off the curb, which wouldn't have gave me enough room to be my 7 foot off of my lot line. That's why I designed it towards the east.
So it appears to me, we need to get the ordinance changed so you can get a variance.
Yeah.
Correct.
Start building it with an east or west.
I mean, I prefer it to be east, that is no problem. Just so I don't have to mess with Chuck Sundstrom. I mean, he thinks he owns that alley already. But we just let him be, because Chuck's been there for, I couldn't tell you how many years. So I'm not gonna mess with him.
If I may ask a question, when an alleyway is abandoned or a street's abandoned, is not the city obligated to contact the property owners that abut that alley that's in question?
There's only 3 property owners.
That's what I've read.
No, well, yes and no, in the sense that, what happens is there's gotta be a petition.
Petition, that's.
And then there's a public hearing. So in the sense that those people have to be noticed that this is going on, yes. And my understanding, having quickly skimmed the law, I reserve the right to be wrong. But if you're at the very end of the alley and everybody else wants to abandon, but that's the only way you can access your property, you kind of hold a veto. We just don't get to abandon a public street and leave somebody hanging, which is why they have the petition and public hearing process.
Well, that's,
Everyone has to.
that's, but I mean, public, individual notice of the property owners that would be along that alley.
But that's not the city's responsibility.
According to what I was reading, it is.
What did you read?
This had to do with the safe routes to school, and that the property owners that their property backs or that alley backs their property, that they should be given specific notice, special notice, and then they can come and speak to the council.
I'd have to, it's in 945, I think 7 through 13 is the code section.
I can look it up
Yeah.
and
I don't know, I'm sorry, I don't know off the top of my head, but the procedure that you go through to accomplish the vacation would be 945, I think it starts at 7 and then goes to 13 or 13.1. for abandoning it. So if it says that in there, then you're probably right. I just don't know off the top of my head.
Can we discuss with you tomorrow and figure out what your quickest, I mean, I don't know what that is, but what the absolute fastest route is for you to get your garage built?
Yeah, I really want the doors to face to the east, so I will just petition the variance.
Right.
Like
If
I
he
said,
applies for the variance now,
I could care less about the.
can we hold the application until the ordinance is changed?
Yeah, I mean, I have his paperwork
So-
from when we,
See, I thought you'd already applied
Yes,
for a variance.
yes,
period.
yes. So will we
Oh.
have this ready in 2 weeks, Sam?
Yeah, the ordinance is ready now. So we can take, the ordinance is ready now and was sent to Pat today, so we can take action on it,
but I didn't put it on the agenda because I didn't know it was coming.
right?
Yeah, no.
2 weeks from today, we
In 2
can.
weeks, we can do that and then have our first reading
Yep,
and our second reading in September.
yep, that's the very fastest we can act.
I've waited 2 months now.
And that way you'll be
Yeah.
able to
Well,
face it.
no, it's nothing with you
Yeah.
guys. I understand that you gotta do what
Then he
you
can
have
face
to
it
do.
that direction,
Yeah,
correct?
exactly.
I just had my builders going elk hunting in September, so I guess he'll have to do it in
Yeah.
October.
Yeah,
And he was hoping to get started on it this month.
Be Christmas.
Okay.
okay, so now,
Yeah, he was getting ready to start on E and I interrupted him.
yeah, we already, well, no, we
Sorry.
gotta do D first. We're in the middle of
Well,
D,
yeah, we
and
were.
we're at a point where we've already had the discussion on ordinance 2021-13. But I feel that it was long enough ago and enough water went under the bridge here. Is everybody aware of what ordinance 2021-13 is? It's a $25 fine for committing an offense. Each offense, $25. Teeth is what it's called. So, assuming that we're all back on that page right now, we would need a motion to approve ordinance number, to approve the first reading of ordinance number 2021-13.
I'll make a motion to approve the first reading of ordinance 2021-13, an ordinance amending the revised municipal ordinances of the city of Alcester, South Dakota, Title V offenses, Chapter 5.01 offenses against public welfare, Section 5.0108 penalty.
I'll second.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve the first reading of ordinance number 2021-13. I'm not going to read the title. You can see the title on the document. It's been read exactly. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we're going to use a roll call vote. Linda, how do you vote?
Aye.
Curtis?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Darla?
Aye.
Ryan?
Aye.
And Cindy?
Aye.
6 yes, thank you. Motion is passed for ordinance number 2021-13. The next item, which Sam will probably give us some enlightening information on, has to do with something that was just brought up in the public input
Well, she
regarding
gave us this one.
We got new.
parking.
This is no good.
Parking, oh, nice. Parking of
Yeah, yes, he gave it.
trailers, actually, parking, I guess is the best way of putting it. Prohibited in certain places. I don't know if Sam wants to expound on it, but there was some vague definition regarding the whole 72 hours before. That's why there were some issues, and then of course, after all those issues arose, we basically said, well, if we can't do anything, we can't do anything, so we can't do anything. So we didn't do anything from then on. We can only do something if the officers are willing to enforce the ordinance, but if the ordinance is quote unquote unenforceable, what can you do?
All right, so, if I may, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
If you look at this ordinance, the meat and potatoes of it is item 3. The language is changed. The decision was made to set it at 48 hours. It does that. It also clarifies with the sentence, continuous presence of a recreational vehicle or trailer on a city street, regardless of locations or movement by the owner or another person for a period of more than 48 hours is a violation of this section. So, I read the original ordinance as contemplating that you don't leave it on the street for longer than a period of time, you know, to cut our citizens some slack. I suppose you could argue, I don't think you do it very successfully, that if you move it 2 feet, you've complied with the ordinance. So that section there, continuous presence on any city street, regardless of location or movement, I think clarifies what I believe the original intent was, which is we don't want people storing recreational vehicles, trailers, etc. On there. So that was added. In talking with Officer Scully, he brought up a point that the term tagging was, originally this was written, it said you could tag the vehicle. He didn't know what that meant. I think Austin, there was a case in New York or something, and they marked tires with paint or something, which you cannot do, and we don't want to do that. So we changed it to say they shall be issued a warning by law enforcement to remove within 48 hours of a citation. And then it essentially below that references, once it's been ticketed, you've got to, or given the warning, you've got to stay off for 48 hours. And then it references 7.0504, which is your fine, $25 per occurrence. Numbers 1 through 12, actually it should be 1 through 14 at the bottom. We expanded a couple things. That you couldn't have dump trailers or flatbed trailers, so making it clear that we're just not supposed to store things in the street. So that's kind of what the ordinance does. I do think we ought to take our pens and when we find the word law enforcement officer right in the middle of big paragraph J, you can cross out the words and a warning issued, so that the sentence reads, recreational vehicles or trailers shall be issued a warning by law enforcement officers to remove within 48 hours. And then you should change the second 12 to a 14 at the bottom as well. Everybody tracking on where I'm at? That's what the proposed ordinance does. My understanding is you wanted clarification on when they could be there, for how long, and whether they could be moved. So I think these fixes fix that issue. Any questions from anybody on that?
So this actually solves the problem with, if I have a trailer, whether it's my small little utility trailer that I use to haul things, or whatever, doesn't matter, or a fifth wheel. If I have it sitting in front of my house and it's sitting on a public street, and it's sitting there for 48 hours or 47 hours and 50 minutes, and I start up my vehicle, pull it to Darla's house and park it on the city street. If it's sitting there for 10 minutes, it's in violation of the 48-hour rule.
Yeah.
That's important.
All right, so you're just saying all these vehicles then that have been sitting out 4 months are no longer allowed on these streets?
Not for more than 48 hours.
Okay, there are vehicles that have been here for months.
Right?
So they have 48 hours now.
Well,
Not
yet.
as soon as this actually goes into effect,
okay.
which is going to take a first reading and a second reading.
Okay, I'm just, because
so they're gonna get warned though.
Yeah, if,
That's,
I mean, we just have to treat everyone
But
the same in
everybody.
this town. We are not doing
There's
that.
the key.
We
And
are
there-
not
and we
doing
can't
that.
treat everyone the same because we can't even treat everyone at all. Because the ordinance was so
No, no.
vague, so it needed
Because
to be.
it's like, I've just been noticing recently, there are so many. I
Yes.
just, all of a sudden, all
And they
these
don't ever
little
move.
trailers are being popping up
No, of course.
everywhere.
Warm weather.
Yeah, and they don't move them though.
well, and I don't wanna speak,
No, I'm just saying little trailers, like all of a sudden, I've been seeing people with like,
Well,
it looks like the back end of a truck just sitting.
well, and this could be another problem, though, think about it. If somebody is having work done at their house and a guy comes in with the trailer, so he has to move it for 48 hours, so he can't work for 48 hours on your house. Is that really,
Park it on the lawn.
well, I don't want him parking on my lawn, I can tell you that, but,
But here,
But I
I got one for you.
okay.
All right, I own a small trailer. I usually park it in my yard. I got it off the yard so I could mow, and it's been there for a while. But it's that time of the year too. My wife likes to garden, so I keep it there so she can put weeds on it. Now, I have to move that every 48 hours.
You have to get it off the street for 48
Alright,
hours.
Take it
So-
off the street.
I'll throw it out. I'm just saying for other people that do have small trailers, that's why they have them.
It's the same with me. I cannot, I either gotta park it in my driveway, or else I've gotta park it on a hardened surface on my lawn, if you will.
I mean, I see your point, I think
Yeah.
that's a very fair point about,
I
you got a contractor with
Yeah,
a
and if
trailer
you've got
full
a
of stuff.
big job at your house, and you could,
Sure.
and then that means they can only sit it there for 48 hours, then they gotta take it off for 48 hours. So for
Sure.
2 days, they can't work again, because they can't bring it back onto the street and even leave it sit.
And we could tweak that with an exception, I mean, we could amend it to say that, you know, exceptions are granted for, you know, construction or whatever. The point that Cindy made, the point that Cindy made is correct, though, is that there's a lot of this stuff there.
Yes, there
And I
is.
think what the ordinance was trying to accomplish when originally written, and what I think most of the citizens wanted to accomplish, is we don't store our stuff in the street. You know, and I'm not gonna speak for Austin, but part of the way it was written was to, you know, he says, hey, he just issues a warning to remove it. He's not ticketing a person right away. And then it says they got another 48 hours to move it. You know, I think that's, really when you get down to it, that's a 4-day period of grace. If you can't figure out a way to move your property out of the city right away after a total of, 4 days, we're gonna ding you $25. I mean,
Per day.
yeah, I mean, I agree with your point, Linda.
Yeah.
Maybe there needs to be an exception for construction or work or something like that.
So, Sam, would they have to be commercially licensed?
No, this isn't, are you talking?
If
for
they
the
were
exception?
commercial license.
Commercial license.
You know,
If they were, that would make a difference.
they could be, but then what if you got a handyman who's
Right, that's where I was going
coming
with
from
this.
Beersford?
Yeah.
You know, I don't,
Yeah.
you know, and then we're gonna let people park commercial vehicles and then, you know, I don't know.
It would actually depend on the verbiage in here. I mean, if you made it, you know, I guess specific enough, I mean, you can make it as specific as you want. It could be 4 pages long instead of just 2, you know.
My big grievance with this entire deal is just, like Linda said, if we do this, you can't pick and choose.
No, absolutely not.
It applies to.
Right, it applies to all.
The other thing, speaking on Mr. Scholar's behalf, is I don't know if we all realize just how many of these things there are, and he's doing all of this by himself already. That's gonna be a mountain of, okay, how long is this one been here? How long is this one? He's got better things to do than worry about trailers sitting in the road.
Well, the alternative is to can the whole thing and say you can put a trailer wherever you want.
Well,
Park it as long as you want.
Well, that's kind of what it's been doing all summer.
yeah, I mean, what's
How about,
the way it's been?
you know, another alternative would be certain times of the year. You know, like from October through March, so that they wouldn't be out on the streets. I mean,
During snow removal.
yeah, I mean, they don't really bother me, I'll tell you that right now. I don't really care about the stuff, but
If they're not blocking anything, if they're not blocking the intersection, if they're not directly blocking a roadway, I just,
And it's different on Broad Street than it is on Second, Third, Fourth.
but it shouldn't be.
no, actually.
Well, it is because of the width of the road.
It is, but
That's
you can
all.
still get through those other streets. It's no different than in the wintertime when I've got people parked on this side and this side. They don't move their cars. I barely can get through with my
Yes,
car.
indeed, you're right.
And we don't ticket anybody for that. So, you know, I just think we need to, I don't know, I don't think we can say you can do it on Broad, but you can't on any other street. I don't think, then we're gonna have everybody bringing them from their house and putting them on Broad Street.
What you're talking about is hiring a third officer. Now, let's talk about the ordinance, the way it stands right now. Are we gonna do anything with this, or are we gonna go on? Obviously, there are issues with it,
I have issues, I think, with it.
so we can do the same thing with it. If the motion is not made, guess what? Going on to item 11, I guess.
I guess if our police chief would like to make a comment, what do you think about this deal? You want to spend time doing this? And is it a safety issue to have these things parked on the street forever?
With respect to the legislation branch, I try to keep my comments to myself on it since I am the executive branch. I kind of have the same, you know, opinion as Linda is. I don't see a problem with it during the summer, but obviously during the winter, you know, we got snow removal and the roads can be slippery, and, you know, people need more stopping time, they need more looking time, need to drive slower sometimes, so obviously then it'll be an issue. But, you know, I'm gonna make my recommendations for the writing of it, because I'm not, like you said before, I'm not gonna take a vehicle, and that's the way I read it, I guess. But I try to keep my opinions out, but.
Okay, Joe, you got?
Yeah, I was just gonna make a comment. I think there's nothing wrong with it during the summertime, but maybe if you guys did do an ordinance, they gotta keep it so far back from a corner from blocking the view.
That's already an ordinance in Willow State law, I
Is it?
believe, so.
Well,
yeah.
oh,
And I wonder if Lonnie Johnson has an issue, because he does street sweeping in the summer also. Does it affect his ability to do his job? I mean, snow removal isn't the only issue necessarily.
No, but other people park their cars in the street when they're street sweeping, and they just go around them.
Their leaves just don't get swept up that day.
Yeah.
Yep, that's kind of where I'm at too.
Yeah. I don't know, that's where my opinion, sorry.
At Fair Board the last time, I don't know how we've come out on it, but the street that goes down to the fair, the commissioners are against any semis being on that. And they want them to be ticketed. Now, our question was, is that the city or is that the counties? Because the county is now involved in that, so I don't know where they're at with that. But it would be the same point. All those trucks then would have to be out of there.
True.
Because the commissioners right now say, if it's the counties, all those semis are out of there. They can't park there.
We maintain it?
That's in Sam's court right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
I
that,
don't have an answer for you.
I don't know that the county gets, if it's a municipal street, the county doesn't get to say anything about it. They can say that people can't park on their parcel adjacent to it, but.
I
the
think
width-
they already were sent.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
the width of the road right away has some play into that, but, you know, as far as if the county is gonna try to direct the municipality to ticket on their behalf, I don't know how far that's gonna go. I just generally, no offense to the commissioner, there are limited times that a county gets to say what happens on a municipal street.
I did attend the commissioners meeting and did talk with them.
I mean, I get if they don't want trucks there for during the
Yeah.
fair, they can ask us
And I
to
don't
help
care
with
who
that.
owns it, but I do know if they do, they're gonna be off that.
Is that South Iowa? Or is it Clark?
What is it?
East Clark Street.
Okay.
So, back to the ordinance that is supposed to be discussed here and whether or not we're going to move on. I'll give you everybody just a moment again. Either we're going to make a motion or we're going to move on.
And I guess one comment that I would have then is if we're not going to make, if you guys are not in favor of having section 70501, then Sam would probably have to draft a different ordinance removing it, I'm assuming.
Yeah, just to dovetail on that, I mean, I got asked to draft it, so I drafted it because I think we were all, the council at the time that the issue came up thought it was ambiguous. This is an attempt to make it less ambiguous. You're just gonna, I see this in several municipalities, right? You guys aren't the only ones that struggle with this, but if you need a clear ordinance, and you need determination to enforce it. And I'll be the first to say, I know firsthand Austin's got bigger fish to fry.
Yes.
Because a lot of those fish end up down in the Elk Point courthouse. Some of them become my fish. But anyway, and not something we need to do today, but if you're okay with stuff in the street, maybe you ought to repeal it. Because what happens when you got an unclear ordinance is you got half people that think one way, half people think the other. And we spend 35, 40 minutes talking about it every 2 or 3 years because nobody's happy.
And we never get anywhere.
But in the next events, sometimes people park a pickup. I mean, now that's a pickup, but I mean, that's not even in this ordinance. But it's in front of your house constantly. That's annoying.
Yeah, that would be too.
So,
But it's a public street.
Same thing.
There's a difference between annoying and breaking an
Right.
ordinance.
but I mean, if I had a big camper in front of my house that was somebody else's all the time, that would be annoying.
Yeah, would
Maybe
be.
that.
So that's where and some might do that. They have that option, right? If we deleted it, they could pull a camper in front of any of our houses and leave it there all summer. Because it's a public street, so then that means it could be anybody's, right?
The existing ordinance is still in effect, right? So the way it says right now is 72 hours. Granted, it's vague, but
And not enforceable.
it's not enforceable. But it's just like a lock. A lock doesn't keep a dishonest person out.
But
I
if
mean-
you guys don't want it, then it needs to be repealed. Because I don't want to leave it in there and then have citizens come in to our office and say, your ordinance say we can have parking,
Right.
but you're not gonna do anything about it. So this is gonna
Understood.
fall on our office. We'll get the complaints. So it's either.
I think it needs to be modified, but it needs to be modified differently than this modification in order to make people
Yes, I agree.
satisfied to the best of our ability. We're not gonna satisfy everybody.
What is the modification you want? Because the modification you have in front of you was what was determined with the meeting with the prior chief.
Right.
So,
As a matter of fact, that's a very valid point. The Chief Christie meeting with Linda, you were there? Was that who?
Nope.
It was you and
I
me
was not
and
there.
the chief.
Jeff Billingsness.
Oh, that's it. Jeff
Yeah, I
Phillips.
think I was there when Jeff was there too.
So that's,
He was a proponent of 48 hours.
that's where
Yeah.
these changes came to be.
So it was with, at the time, Chief Christie's input that this was built.
You know, I suppose if you want me to make a comment, the way it kind of seems like the council wants, you know, in my mind, you know, maybe the exception from March to October, March to September, it could be parked in front of your property, but after that, you know, it gets towed. Because we need to have street removal, we need to have extra time for stopping, we need, you know, stuff like that, but that's the way I'm kind of picking up. Well, maybe some council members are.
Be more in favor of that.
Yeah, and I would say too, as far as what Darla was alluding to, with people being able to park them anywhere, can we have it into, it has to be parked
In front of,
directly in front of your property?
yeah, adjacent to
Can
your
we do
property.
that when it's on a public street?
Yeah, generally, I mean, maybe, what if you got a guy though that doesn't get to park his 30-foot long camper because he's within whatever distance of the stop sign?
Yeah.
Or people
On
that
that
run
corner
Highway
lot,
11.
like, you know,
Right.
what do you
I got a
do?
massive backyard.
Not everybody's got that alley.
No.
What it basically amounts to, in my opinion, is we're trying to legislate courtesy.
Well, then, I say, well, we can't make everybody happy, obviously. There's always gonna be somebody that's not gonna be happy.
I got some thoughts on that, Dan, after listening.
Okay, go ahead, Curtis.
To me, I can understand the concerns, but I don't think we need to have a police department trying to go around determine the hours and stuff. It should be complaint driven maybe, and then he can check it out after a complaint it once to the city. Because a lot of people maybe aren't that concerned over it. It's not a safety situation or it's not the bigger problem. That's just my thought, but listening to all.
But that might not be fair if it's only
Right,
complaint
yeah, I don't
driven.
think that would be fair at all.
Well, it wouldn't be fair because some people will complain and some people will never complain, so.
But that would take care of Darla's issue, where somebody's parked in front of her house, or somebody's parked in front of my house.
You complain.
I can, first of all, I'd go talk to them and see if they can move it.
True.
If they get grumpy and complain about it, then, yeah, I can fill out a complaint form, and then, but that doesn't say that
I,
here.
I don't know about that. That kind of bothers me. I don't think it's gonna be fair across the board.
Yeah, it won't
And
be.
then we're just gonna leave ourselves open there, to, in my mind, that, well, this person has to move it, but this person can have it there because nobody complained about this one.
I think this is, I'm good with this, I just think it has to be across the board with every, I mean, it can't just be this person, it has to be that person and that person and that person too.
We can put this into effect by making a motion, and if it passes, it's in effect. However, or it's starting to become in
Right.
effect. However, we still only have one officer to enforce and take care of all of the other fish that are being fried and everything else. So,
I think we should consider from like November 1 through the end of March. I don't know. Can we,
I'd like to have it a little sooner than that, because
well,
otherwise you're gonna have problems with
Start
street-
sooner, you
streets.
mean?
Yeah.
I'm
Where-
fine
where-
with
So the
that.
street sweeper can get the streets,
Yep,
the
okay.
leaves swept.
So what are you thinking?
October
September?
1st.
October 1? I'd be in favor of that. And you think through the end of March? Or through the end? Because some people maybe start, I don't know. I don't camp, so I don't
Yeah, there shouldn't be a whole lot of construction going
know. I
on
mean,
yet.
you
in
gotta go
March.
through the end of March because we can get a lot of snow in March.
maybe April 15th,
That sounds like.
1st of October to April 15th.
Would I be out of line to bring up a possible solution?
Yep.
Sure, go ahead.
We have those county fairgrounds down there. Could something be worked out with the county that everybody that owns trailers rent space down there out in that big lot?
City owns.
And, well, I know they
What'd
dump
you
corn
say?
there, but can't corn possibly go somewhere else? Or is there another big lot where that could be utilized and somebody makes some income off it?
City owns part of that.
That'd be a
If they own
liability on
most
our
of it.
end, though. Something happens.
Good question, but
Well, I mean, I know just about every day, well, not every day, but a lot of days, I'll be traveling up to Canton, you know, just get west of town there, or east of town there, going out towards the hospital, and that guy's got that big lot where people, you know, store their stuff, and it'd be nice if somebody would consider doing something like that. And then, if that was to happen, you know, pass an ordinance saying, get them off there unless you're gonna be pulling your trailer down to maybe charge up some batteries and throw a few groceries in there, but after that, they better be off the street. But
If you do go with a date, I would recommend after May 15th. And the reason for that is the alternative garbage route is in effect until the middle of May.
True. Okay.
so now it becomes October 1st to May 15th.
So do we have to redo this?
You could, we could amend it, somebody could move to amend it, the language, so you uncapitalize an N and no, and you say from October 1st to April 15th, comma, and then the rest of it reads like we've got it written. One way to do it.
If I may offer a comment, there's a section in that that deals with removal, and it doesn't say that it's going to be towed. It's a little bit vague, who's going to remove the vehicle if it's still on the street.
Oh, it doesn't need to, I understand what you're saying, Ms. Larsen, but ticketing and removal, essentially a citation, and the city's gonna move it for you. You know, it doesn't, I don't believe that the ordinance needs to be so specific as saying it will be towed by a licensed towing company or whatever. It's just, you can remove it from the street. And the best way to do that is contact a towing company that's got a yard, just like, basically the same thing Austin would do if I get liquored up and popped on the way out of town, and they tow my vehicle after they did inventory.
So Jay would start out with from October 1st through May 15th, no person. Is that correct?
That, yeah, if somebody wanted to move to amend that.
So I'm not sure where you want that.
Right at the beginning.
Right at the beginning of J.
Right after the letter J. From
Right now it
October
says
1st.
no person,
Okay,
you see it.
right here. But nothing needs to go up in the title. Okay.
So is that getting to be a consensus, those dates?
From October 1st.
I'll make a motion that we amend ordinance number 2021-12. Do I have to read the whole thing again?
You haven't read it at all yet.
Yeah, we haven't read it at all, so.
Okay. So that section J begins with from October 1 to May 15 of each year.
I don't think you need to put it
Okay,
here.
probably not. No person shall park any recreational vehicle or trailer on any street at any location within the city, and that will continue the same.
And then you have to read the title of the ordinance.
But then there are also some other amendments that he suggested.
Yes, and we will be eliminating the words "and a warning issue" in the sentence which begins, recreational vehicles or trailers will be issued a warning by a law enforcement officer to remove within 48 hours of citation. And then we will be changing the second, number 12, so that it is number 14, any other recreational equipment or cases, boxes, or items used to store or transport such recreational equipment. Those are all the amendments.
I'll second it.
Motion has been made and seconded to amend ordinance 2021-12 to include the verbiage in item 1, section J, to state from October 1st through May 15th, comma, no person shall, and then continuing on the same until it gets to about the middle of the paragraph where it says recreational vehicles or trailers shall be issued a warning by law enforcement officer, and then the next few words are struck so that it says to remove within 48 hours of citation. Also changing the number 12 that is right after number 13 to the correct number 14. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so the amendment has been made to ordinance number 2021-12. We would need a motion to approve the first reading of said ordinance.
I'll make a motion to approve the first reading of ordinance number 2021-12.
You have to read the whole thing.
An ordinance, which, oh my gosh.
Just the
The,
title.
okay, I'll make the motion to approve the first reading of ordinance number 2021-12, to update of Title 7, Chapter 7.05, parking and stopping. Is that good?
No, actually,
The whole
what you're reading is that.
The whole thing
that
at
dark
the
The
whole
whole
bolded-
thing,
Yeah.
that dark bolded
An
area.
ordinance amending the revised municipal ordinance of the city of Alcester, South Dakota, Title 7, Traffic Code, Chapter 7.05, Parking Stopping, Section 7.0501, Parking Prohibited in Certain Places.
I'll second that.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve the modified or amended ordinance number 2021-12. You can read the bolded label for that ordinance. Is there any discussion at this time? We're going to go with a roll call vote again. Hearing no other discussion, Linda, how do you vote?
Aye.
And Curtis?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Darla?
Aye.
Brian?
Aye.
And Cindy?
Aye.
6 aye. The ordinance number 2021-12 as amended has passed. Thank you all. And now we'll move on to number 11, Police Department. As you can see, there is a section immediately following that heading, motion to enter into executive session pursuant to SDCL 1-25-2, Parent 1, personnel.
I'll make a motion to enter into executive session pursuant to SDCL 1-25-2, parentheses 1, personnel.
I'll second it.
Motion's been made and seconded to move into executive session. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. How do you vote? Excuse me, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 6 vote aye. We're in executive session at 7:38 p.m. Before we officially do this, I guess the camera decides to shut itself off, so I don't need to do that. Curtis, I have to ask you, I'm assuming that you are alone.
Yes, I am.
It was kind of smoky this morning when I first went walking. I was gonna open my house up and I thought, no, I better not. But I think it got better as the day progressed. I don't know why.
Jason in Wisconsin said it's hit Wisconsin out that small.
Yeah,
It's out there too.
yeah, I just think it must be about everywhere.
Wanda, can I get a discount on water? I forgot that I had my water running one night, I'm trying to put some grass in it to know for some. Oh, come on.
I know, I gotta treat everybody the same. I gotta treat everybody the same.
Dang it. How much, do I get a good neighbor discount?
Now I'm thinking of a drink.
I know I do.
I knew that coffee would do something to you.
Yeah.
And that won't even come on. That's the end of that, Pat. It just beeped. I'm calling us out of executive session at 8 p.m. exactly. Letter A under item 11 is done. We would need to deal with letter B.
I would make a motion to hire Austin Sculler as police chief at $23 per hour effective 6/5/21.
I'll second it.
Can I ask what the amount and the date was again?
$23 an hour
Okay,
effective 6/5.
okay.
All right. Sculler is Schuller, correct?
Yes, sir.
Motion has been made and seconded to hire Austin Sculler as police chief at $23.00 per hour, effective June 5th at 6/5/21. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. We'll do a roll call vote here. Linda?
Aye.
I'm gonna still go with Curtis,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Darla,
Aye.
Brian,
Aye.
and Cindy.
Aye.
Did Cindy second that?
Cindy did second that. Linda made the motion, Cindy seconded. Congratulations, Chief Sculler.
Thank you.
Thank you for accepting. Now the difficult task will be to, of course, get ready to hire an officer to replace you in your position of the past here.
I'll be working on that. Thank you, guys. Didn't write a fancy speech, I apologize.
I can't remember what letter C was all about. Motion.
Have we published?
Oh.
No, that's what C is for, to do the publishing.
Motion to officially publish.
Okay. Have we
Can
got-
he be, I'd even
Alcester?
like to maybe look at the ad before we actually put it out there. Can we both look at it?
Yep, I can email it out tomorrow.
Okay.
Does that sound good?
Yeah.
We'll take a look at it. But obviously, we're going to want to have a motion to,
What, publicize or
Advertise for the,
advertise for police officer
correct.
position? I'll make a motion that the city advertise for a police officer position.
Second.
Steve and Brian. All right, motion's been made and seconded to have the city advertise for a police officer position or for somebody to fill a police officer position. Is there any discussion at this time?
Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
No, you're not opposed, you can't be both. All right, letter C is done, and we're on to number 12. Now, one thing that you need to realize is the word chairperson there under, or on item 12, that is the individuals that are chairing, for instance, the library and auditorium, the public safety, the liquor store, etc. So those chair people will be the ones that will be responsible for this going forward. Now, that wasn't meant to put you all on the spot right now. That's not what this is about, but we needed to start this ball rolling so that we do have better communication between the individual departments and the individuals that are on those committees. Now, that doesn't mean that you need to micromanage, and that's one of the things that I mentioned to some of the employees. It's not meant to be that you're going to have your thumb on these employees. They're good employees. They're doing their jobs. They're doing their jobs as well as they can. Not to say that they're perfect, but they just need a little bit of direction, that's all. So, get some information from them. Every once in a while, ping Lonnie and say, yo, what's up, Lonnie? And just find out what's happening on the city streets or the sewer system from Dale or, what have you. I don't care what it is. Pick whatever it is you are the chairperson of, keeping in mind that obviously you also have two other committee members that work with you that can do the same thing and put your heads together, and maybe we can get people all involved in this and make it work really well. At least that's my hope. So, I don't know if anybody from the street department has any input. Not an awful lot has changed since last meeting. I was kind of hoping maybe that some of it would have changed, but evidently they are still working on other things inside the building over there rather than working on 6th Street and Park Avenue. But
Yeah, the delay is due to, the dirt work or the gravel work was a little bit off, so the asphalt company can't come yet.
Gotcha. So, those of you that are on the street, water and streets, that would be Curtis Kaiser, Linda Talbot, and Brian Johnson. Again, I'm not trying to tell you, you guys gotta be with those people every day, but hey, just ping them once in a while and say, how are things? Is there anything that you need that you don't have? Is there any problem that you have that we might be able to help you with? Whatever.
Dan?
Yes.
I have some input there. Oh, Dan?
Yes.
Yep.
Just give you a little update. Lonnie did reach out to me, and he's really interested in showing us different things and what they're doing and what their needs are and stuff. So I'll be talking to him, and maybe the rest of us in our committee can be in touch with him too, but he's very interested in having us know more what's going on directly.
I think that's a good thing. And like I said, it's not meant to be oversight as much as it is just to be sight. I mean,
No, he actually requested it, he initiated that, so I was surprised.
cool. Yeah, I know when you and I talked, you made it sound like he was kind of excited about having the opportunity to visit with you, so. Well, again, I don't want to step on anybody's toes, but I want to try to expedite this too, so we're not here all night. So if there's nothing that you can think of for streets, we're gonna move on to the pool.
I did talk to the manager one day, and she said there was no concerns. But I was there on Saturday, and there was some concerns to me, but the lifeguards did handle it.
Oh,
But I think for next year, there's something you could look at.
like rule enforcement or
Yeah.
something like that? Well, maybe like a
How much do
little,
they have to take before they can say you're out?
yeah, little pep talk before actually turning
There
loose.
was a group there that told Linda, I should have stood up and said, you're out of here,
Yeah,
because they were very disrespectful.
Well,
And they
and
were
I-
only 10 years old. But the lifeguard, I give him credit.
You know who they-
He handled it,
Good idea.
and they left after they were set down for 10, 15 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
But very arrogant.
Hmm.
And I asked him, I said, are you ready for swimming to be over? And he said, yep. He said, I'm tired of this, they know how to push it until, then right when they're gonna get down, then they quit.
Sure.
But it wasn't safe, what
Yeah.
they did. So, I felt bad for them because could have snuck to myself. And then you don't want to overstep your bounds either, because they have their rules. And
No, that's true. But at the same time, I don't think there's anything wrong with saying, do you really think you should be doing that, youngster? There's nothing wrong with that.
Well, the worst that could happen was, it was pool break, and the lifeguards went into the pool house for their 10 minutes, and 5 youngsters went to the side of the pool and said, now, and they all jumped in. And then they got out real quick and went back and sat on the bench again. And then the lifeguard came out and said, okay, you're benched. They said, we didn't do it, we didn't do it. I was gonna speak up if they said, he backed down and said, yeah, they did do it.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was very intentional.
Hmm. Well, I'm kind of pleased to see, every time I step out my door, I look and I watch and,
Yeah.
I mean, I'll go over and visit with them once in a while, and I think they're doing a great job. I wouldn't want the job, but I think they're doing fine.
The one thing, and I don't know about it, when I was up there, somebody said we did have an incident, a child fell and hit their head or something, did we? That you know?
Not that I'm aware of.
And it was preschooler. And I don't know if the mother was there or not. And so I did look down at the rule board, and now this is old school because I was there years ago. But it used to be that if you were 6 and under, you were your parents, somebody had to be with you.
Yeah, guardian was with
And
you.
I don't know if there's anything that, I was far away, so I couldn't read, but I didn't see it. Because I thought that maybe would have prevented that, and I don't know the incident. And I might ask the lifeguard, I thought maybe you
I
guys do.
think that it says anybody 6 and under
It
has to
doesn't?
have a parent or guardian over 14.
Okay, that's what I was gonna check, because I was trying to read it from far away and I couldn't. But I thought that wouldn't be, because we're getting parents that just drop their kids off.
Yeah, absolutely.
And think those guys are the lifeguards, or the babysitters.
Absolutely.
That was just one thing I noticed for being there a couple hours, but, I mean, they did a good job, I'm not gonna say they did not.
Sure. Well, then we'll move on to the cemetery. Brian, Kurt, or Cindy, whether you've got anything that you'd like to add regarding that?
I would like to say thank you to Pat and her husband because they went out and donated their own time and did the weeding. And thank you.
That sounds on Friday.
So you ended up
Yeah.
doing it?
Did he get any of it done?
Not the weeding, he just mowed.
The east and 2 rows in the center.
That was weed eating as well, or just,
That's what he needed.
well, and this is not necessarily cemetery related, but still the same employee. We didn't have the landfill open on Saturday because no one was here to be there.
And I went out there, I took pictures because I don't know what it's supposed to look like. And if somebody, I have pictures. I just want to know what it's supposed to look like because I don't think it's been mowed.
No, I don't either. And I think we've even discussed this. We've got a brush hog mower, and we've got the ability to do it. So it's just going to be a matter of communication, I think, I hope, and then that'll get taken care of.
Was it open tonight?
Yep.
Well, that's because, wasn't Lonnie?
Oh, so-
Lonnie was the replacement.
He didn't have a replacement then?
We did, in Parker's defense, we exhausted everybody. I was even gonna sit out there on Saturday, and then I realized I couldn't. So, it's difficult to get somebody to sit there for 4 hours on a Saturday morning.
And I asked Pat about not having someone, and Pat told everyone why we have to have someone.
The state comes out and looks at our records. So when anyone uses the landfill, that information is documented. It's documented who it is, how many loads you have, and, if you're city resident or non-city resident. We do charge for out-of-city limit use of the landfill. City patrons pay $6 a month to help fund landfill. Out-of-city limit residents do not fund any, so that's why they are charged for pickup loads of whatever it is that they are bringing. The other side of it not being manned is we are restricted what can go in the landfill. And if there's no one manning the gate, there's a possibility of items that are not allowed being put in the landfill.
So, sorry about getting off on the tangent with the landfill there, but what about tree replacement there at the cemetery? Do we know anything on that score? Nothing that,
Nothing has been done
we
to
know?
my knowledge on it.
Nothing yet. So there is a good, and I'm not trying to put it all on Brian, Kurt, and Cindy's shoulders to deal with this, but it may be a good idea just to ping him and just say, hey, what's gonna be done regarding the tree replacement? Because the sooner we act on that, the better off we are, because I believe, didn't you, Dave, or didn't you think that they were maybe under warranty still, or?
No, I guess, yeah, you could ask to see if they were under warranty, but in my opinion, as somebody who's worked around a nursery, those trees were not treated appropriately.
Yeah.
So if any of them are warranty work, it would be amazing to me.
Probably be very hard to validate that it would be under warranty.
Yeah.
Because they don't know how they were treated.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think,
Most places, is, they'll want you to get them through the first year. If not, they'll provide a replacement, but
We've had some extreme weather.
yeah. Okay, then let's move on to letter D, water and wastewater, and let's see.
That's me.
Okay, There you
I
go.
have nothing.
Well,
And I don't even have their phone numbers to even contact them.
still got water, right? Sewer still works.
Well, I hope so.
It comes and goes, it's fine.
So I do need to get their phone numbers, Dale's and Lonnie's, I don't have them.
You know,
Yeah,
that,
I need them too.
that's a very good point. I mean, I think it's a good idea to have all that information spread throughout the council, so.
Do we have a contact list that we have access to?
I'll email you one.
Okay.
As far as the police goes, he did provide us with a
The stats.
stat sheet. He's been pretty beat up over the last bit here.
Is that something that, when I was up in Emmitsburg, they never provided these. Is that something that he's just doing out of,
No,
is that something he has to do?
they started doing this when they got on, actually, they did it even before the Zerker software, but it's really easy with Zerker. There's nothing to this report. It takes moments to generate, so it's not a lot of work if that's what you're thinking
Yeah,
of.
I was
But
just wondering if that was something that he has to
yeah,
send.
no, he doesn't have to
Okay.
collate it all or anything, so. I guess though you folks are on the safety committee, and that is who? Linda, Brian, and Cindy. Oh, yeah, I should remember that.
Yeah.
You just got through going through a whole bunch of it. But you are gonna be looking at least gleaning some of the people.
How long will that run, Pat?
It can run as long as you want it to. If we go with the Argus again, it'll be on 30 days. We'll do our local paper for a couple times.
What do we normally do? How long?
I usually, for police officers, because it's such a specialized field, and you need that broader range, I usually do the 30 days at the Argus.
So, but as we get them, if we thought they were a good candidate, we could interview before.
So that's obviously going to be, 30 days from now, we should be pretty much ready to pull the trigger. I shouldn't use that term. 30 days from now, we should be prepared to do something.
Hopefully.
Or close to prepared, because, just for his sake.
Yeah. Now, I do have, he gave me 3 applicants. Do you have all 3 of those? I'll check with you after the meeting.
Okay.
I gave them to you too.
We will move on to the library, and it says auditorium, that's gonna go.
The library board had a meeting last week. Paige reviewed their summer reading program. The school is purchasing new tables and chairs for the library. The tables aren't there yet, chairs are. So that's why we ended up with some surplus chairs and a couple tables from there. One of the things we're going to be working on before the end of the year is to update some policies. One was the internet policy, internet use, and so that'll be something we'll be working on. There'll be at least one more meeting for the end of the year. One of our members, Cosette Heeman, sent me a letter after the meeting and resigned. She didn't feel she's up to date with computer literacy enough to add much to that, so we'll be needing a new member. If anybody knows of somebody that would like to, lives in town and would like to be a member, they should maybe contact me. Otherwise, library's doing fine.
Well, you did well there in that report. We may as well go on to letter G. Talk to somebody else. Oh, no.
Golf course is green, and there's been quite a bit of activity out there. We have Wednesday afternoon, the Supreme Business Group is coming over for an event. We're hoping in the future to get more of those kind of things.
Supreme, what is that?
Supreme pack, well, it used to be
What's a
Supreme Packets, I can't remember the name of
Natural
that.
Food Holdings now.
But yeah.
How we learn?
Uh,
Oh, that's kind
Our
of.
connection is Ron Treiber. He was the person that started getting him here. This may be the last year that they come over for an event here. And Saturday, we got a couple larger groups coming in, so things are going really well out there. There's a lot of, I mean, I just signed a warrant for a $1,400 part for the irrigation pump, but everything seems to be working fine. And the grass is green and it's cut where it's supposed to be. I haven't heard too many, I guess Joe isn't here making any comments, but he's out there a lot.
Yeah.
Things seem to be working pretty well.
Good. Well, so again, even in future, I mean, if you've not had an opportunity to spend a lot of time talking with anybody, don't sweat it. You don't have to prepare a speech or anything, but if you got any input when it comes time for your section.
We're just gonna do this once a month or at every meeting, don't you think? Once a month?
I thought it was the first meeting of the month.
That's what I would think. That will, otherwise you just,
Yeah, it's gonna be redundant.
okay.
So then we'll move on to number 13, finance officer updates. And obviously, you've all had a chance, or some of you have had a chance to look at warrants and sign them. We need a motion to approve those July warrants.
I'll motion to approve July warrants as presented.
I'll second it.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the July warrants. Is there any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Opposed? And reminders and updates. Boy, this week is going to be quite fun. And thank goodness it wasn't when it was 102, you know, nicer weather. August 5th through the 7th fair, and the fair sounds like it's going to be quite the fair. Not only the new things that are going on, but it's the 90th as well. I think that could draw some extra people as well. Free greens fees weekend, August 14th through the 15th. The pool closes that Sunday, the 15th, huh? And the Alcester Hudson School starts August 19th. There's also a 5K fun run / walk August 21st. We'll move on to number 14, the Alcester Community Center. And you talked about, I guess, the dirt work, but this employment booth?
I will know later on, but we talked about doing having either a manned or unmanned booth at the fair in the commercial building. Putting the word out with some applications for positions up at the new community center. So cooks, ushers, waiters, servers, so.
Bartenders, cooks.
Yep. So I have some employment cards being made, just informational cards, and then I'll have applications there. So that'll start that process. And the community center has doors now, and sheet rocking is scheduled during this month of August.
Wow. Nice.
So is that locked or can you step in?
I found one door open.
Oh, I was curious. Oh, I drove by.
I didn't ask Jim, I talked to him a couple times today, but I forgot to ask him if that's always gonna be the way it is, but.
Well,
It won't be long and it will be.
Well,
It will be,
yeah,
very
yeah,
close,
so that
but-
there isn't vandalism.
Yeah. The more valuable it becomes inside, the more chance there is they're gonna
The
close it.
second there isn't any drywall inside, it needs to be.
Yeah.
It should be locked,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
Seen that go south very.
Yeah,
quickly.
very
Yeah.
fast, yeah.
Well, then we'll move on to the Fair Board.
Well, we had our last meeting last week. Basically, at the end, it said all hands on deck. So we just have to be down there quite a bit in the evenings. Encourage people to go. I don't know, there was talk of possibly a float from the city in the parade.
is there,
There's no fees or anything. It's just
do you have to make an application or just show
Yeah, you have
up?
to let Dana Wilson know.
Yeah.
So depending on how many of you want to be, I mean, we could either use golf carts like we have done for homecoming today, or we could do, I haven't touched base with Lance yet, but see if his wagon is available, or we could use a pickup. And I do have, novelty items to throw out for the council. And if we don't have the interest from you, I'll use them for homecoming.
Parade would be nice.
I can't remember when the parade actually
It
is.
starts at 3:30 on
3:30.
Saturday.
You're
So you
supposed-
probably line up at what time?
2:30, he told me.
2:30 at the
Yeah.
school,
The new-
elementary.
Elementary, you get a number and that tells you where to go.
Yep.
That's what he told me.
I think the pickup would be kinda nice, we could just put a few of us oldsters in the back and toss candy out.
Oh, it's not candy this year.
Oh, good. Super balls.
No, it's homecoming.
That sounds good.
I know, that's
It's so much fun. All right, well, that takes care of that.
I suppose the commercial areas will probably be closed for a while then.
Yeah, I bet they will be for a little bit.
Or have a skeleton crew probably.
Right, because there will be, right following that will be the free supper at 5, which we're supposed to serve at besides. Plus Pat, well, anybody in the community, but Pat and I, and then we also have to take gates.
At the
So,
rodeo.
at the rodeo, so we
Bull
kind of
riding.
have
Yeah, it's not really a quote-unquote rodeo,
No,
right?
it's bull
a
riding.
bull
bull
riding.
riding, yeah.
Who's doing it?
In a firm in Iowa, FBI.
It's a new experience.
For us.
Yeah.
And for the bulls.
Well, number 16, executive session if needed. Necessary or unnecessary? In that case, we move on to number 17.
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Seconded.
I'll second that.
Okay, good.
Who do you want to use?
Curtis.
Curry.
I'm using Curtis, yep. Only because she said go ahead.
Yeah.
She was first, but, all right. Motion's been made and seconded to adjourn the council. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Sorry, Curtis. I heard you. It is 8:31 PM. Thank you very much.
Thanks everyone for bearing with me.
Thanks for coming.